2020 City of Erie, Pennsylvania Zoning Hearing Board meeting. Are we good?
We are. We're recording and live on Facebook.
All right. Okay. This is an official meeting and we're ready to go. It's 1 p.m. On the agenda, if we don't have our city person, we're calling the meeting to order. Roll call.
Okay.
You want me to do the roll call, Jake, or you want? Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Thanks, Don. So I'll run through the zoning hearing board member names for roll call, and if present, please say present. Ed Dawson.
Present.
Mike Horniak.
Present.
Selena King.
Present.
John Reitinger.
Present.
Jeffrey Johnson. And my understanding is Jeff is involved in another meeting, but he may be joining us. But he does not appear to be signed in yet.
Okay. I'll ask for approval of the minutes from June 9th, 2020.
Motion to approve. I second it.
Properly moved in second. Any questions on the motion? Questions? All in favor by aye.
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 I guess, Jake, you'll have to record the persons because I guess usually you are the one who asked for the approval by name.
Yes, that's fine. So I have John Reitinger as a motion to approve and seconded by Mike Horniak. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then how did
And
we
all
vote?
approved. And unanimous vote to approve?
Works for me if it works for you. So moved.
Yes.
Then we'll hear the
Yes.
first appeal, number 12221. Is the person on?
Do we want to swear in the potential
Yes, you do.
testifiers?
Yes, sir. Is the person available?
I'll need to know who that person is.
But Frank, is our stenographer with us? I guess not.
If that's Susan Winchell, possibly. I sent a chat to her and I did not receive a response.
Oh. Okay. Jake's got the minutes. I'm looking for a Mr. Slumsky.
Actually, Miss Rupp is first. Miss.
Oh.
May I?
What?
May I make a point of order?
Okay.
Frank, if we don't have a stenographer that we're aware of participating, did I understand you to say that this is on Facebook? Is it being recorded? That will have to serve as the official record.
Yes, I'm recording and it's also live on social media.
Okay, so the board, I'd be comfortable if you approved the fact that we're on record via audio for today's hearing. Somebody could make a motion and approve that because it's something we've never done before.
I'll make the motion and we approve Don's idea of using Facebook for our official record. I'll second.
We properly moved to second that we use Facebook as our official recording of information and for the purpose of conducting the hearing.
Facebook or
questions?
whatever means Frank was recording it. Yes, thank you.
Then let's not use Facebook. Let's use means by which we're recording, video recording.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Ms. Rupp, and you can continue your meeting.
Questions? All in favor again?
Aye.
All opposed have the same option. Okay, Jake.
All right, first up on the docket of appeals is appeal number 12221 by Dina Rupp. The index number of the property is 4001-119. It's concerning property located at 28 and 30 West 8th Street. No, there's a typo there that says 30 and 38. It's actually 28 and 30 West 8th Street in the Masonic Temple building. The appellant is seeking a use variance to operate an animal care facility at this location. Per section 204.17 of the city zoning ordinance, animal care facilities are not a permitted use in a C3 district.
Okay, is Mrs. Rupp there?
Hi, I'm here.
Good. Can we swear you in?
Sure.
You promise to tell the truth and all the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Okay, let's hear from you.
All right. So, hello.
Yes.
I want to open up a cat cafe in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with a cat cafe, but they are very popular surrounding us. There's about 3 in Pittsburgh, 2 in Buffalo, 1 in Cleveland. They're all over the nation. They started in Asia, came over to the West Coast of the United States about 8 years ago, and it's just really taken over America within the last several years. Because Erie loves their animals so much, and they are very supportive of all the animal, nonprofit organizations in this city and surrounding, I think that it would be super beneficial for Erie to bring in a unique concept, and also something that really isn't unique if you look in the bigger picture of things, because it is all around us. I would be personally working with Because You Care, which is an animal nonprofit organization located in McCain. And they would be letting me basically have about up to 10 cats in the space. And basically I'd be like a foster home. So I would have a cat lounge on one side where people could come and spend time with cats, have that animal-human connection, and also have this opportunity, maybe if they can't have animals themselves in their homes, they can spend some time with some animals there. Or if they want to adopt, they are able to do that. And they would go through the adoption process through Because You Care. That way I get to help Because You Care not only bring in more animals and help them adopt out, specifically cats, but also I get to have this awesome, unique opportunity to help nonprofits and animals alike, and to bring people into it, something interesting and new to Erie, which I think would also really bring something cool to downtown Erie. On the other side of there would be 2 spaces. So on the property of 30 West 8th would be the cafe part, where I would serve beverages, coffee specifically, other kind of products I would want to support from local businesses. I would not be cooking in the facility. I would not do any kind of frying or anything like that. It would just be goods that I would get from other suppliers. And then obviously I would make the coffee there. So I would also have this cafe portion for people to come if they don't want to see the cats. And then on the opposite side, well, not on opposite, but 28 West 8th Street property would be where the cat lounge would be. There would be a divide there, so it would be separated from the cafe part, and people would have to make an appointment online to come see the cats in the cat lounge. I would not be open to the public for that. They would have to reserve ahead of time, so it would be organized. And I would probably have about up to 10 to 15 people. Usually a lot of the cat cafes do it on an hourly basis. So they would pay a small fee to come in. The fee would then cover to take care of the animals on the cat lounge side, food, all that stuff. And I would obviously have it organized so it would be clean. It would be, space safe for the cats and for people and all that good stuff.
Okay, are there any questions from the members of the board?
I have one. Will you be boarding these cats overnight, or are they just visiting during the day?
No, they would be staying there until they got adopted out.
Okay, so you have an architect and the plans and everything?
I don't have the plans yet because I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. But I do have an architect bid that I did get from HRLC Architects firm on West 12th Street. They actually came into the space along with the property manager at the Masonic Temple a couple weeks ago. I also had the City of Erie, I think his name is Steve, your building inspector. Not sure if
Okay,
he came in as well and kind of looked over the space, and he thinks that everything looks good. I would have to get some electrical things looked at, of course, and the space is obviously, specifically on the side of 28 West 8th Street, the Jewelers was there for quite a long time, and the space is very, well, it needs help. It needs, some loving. So, I would need to obviously kind of take care of that. On the other side, it's pretty ready to go. It would just, obviously, yes, architectural plans and people in place to help get everything where it needs to be. So yes, I have started looking into that and I do have options.
My next question is are these separate entities, the cat care facility separate from the cafe?
Correct. So if you see my I gave you kind of like a rough mock-up in a packet, if you received it. On the 30 West 8th Street side is the cafe side. So that's where everyone will be entering. If you look kind of like in the middle section of that, there's an entrance exit to the cat lounge. So that will actually be a double door system for people to enter into the cat lounge. But it will be, shut off from the cafe side. So there will be no intermingling of cats in the cafe portion.
I think that's all I have.
have you looked into all the necessary licensings that you may need? If you're going to serve food, if you're going to have cats, so forth?
Right. I did start looking into that and all that good stuff. I did talk to the health department when I first started looking into this about a year ago. I talked to, I believe her name was Jenna, and she, is more than happy to come in, make sure everything looks good. And I don't foresee, like I said, everyone doesn't foresee any huge problems in the sense of having that separation. In a lot of cafes, cat cafes, actually everyone that I've been to about 10 of them in the United States. And basically they have an option, the customer, if they want to take their beverage or their snack into the cat lounge. We cannot serve them in the cat lounge. So if they wanted to take a coffee or a cookie in with them, that's up to them. But we do not serve in the cat lounge. It would be specifically on the cafe side.
I have one more question if I can. And
Absolutely.
This is for Jake, really. I mean, if we approve this down the road, and God, I hope it works for you and you make a lot of money. But down the road, if someone wants to put in iguana facility there, will they be allowed to?
Do you want them to?
Well,
I mean, I don't understand, I guess. Are you saying, is it going to be prepped for someone to?
Well, no, I mean, like I said, I hope you succeed, but if you do not succeed, if we rezone or have a variance on that space,
Yeah.
is that for the next person, I'm asking Jake, actually.
Oh,
The next guy down the pike, or a woman that wants to open a puppy facility there, or a snake facility, or potbelly pig come in and pet your pig, will they be able to?
Well, I mean, under the zoning ordinance, animal care facility is defined as, boarding, breeding, housing, keeping, or medical treatment of 5 or more animals 6 months or older. It does not, the definition of animal care facility does not distinguish the types of animals.
That's not
So,
what I'm asking. I'm not asking that. I'm asking the next person, will they be able to do that? Where will they have to go through the process again if they want to put in a restaurant there? Is it a change of use back?
well, if somebody wanted to convert that space to a restaurant, for instance, yeah, it would be a change of use, but of course that's a permitted use in C3. So they would just have to satisfy the building code requirements in order to get the occupancy permit for the new use, which
Right.
is what's going to need to occur here
Right.
before occupancy can be obtained. That occupancy permit's going to need to be provided.
If I may try to answer, John, and this is as much a comment as, and kind of a question for Ms. Rupp as trying to answer your question, John. The closest thing that we have that I can think of in Erie, at least gone through the zoning board, is the on 12th and Liberty. It's a daycare center for animals.
Mm-hmm.
But that does include different types of animals, I'm thinking. Cats, dogs. I don't think
If
it
those
has
animals go home at night, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll get that in a second. That place has a facility where they walk them and they care for them in the back and all that. I'd like to know from Ms. Rupp if that's part of the plan. To direct to your question, John, we can put a condition in the variance that this was a request for a cat cafe, and limit it to that. See what Ms. Rupp's idea of limiting it to that exclusive use. I don't know if that helps answer your question. My comment was more directed towards Mr. Dawson's question earlier about the serving food at a facility like this where you have the public health concerns of caring for animals. Ms. Rupp, can you kind of chime in on a few of those questions?
Well, like I told Mr. Dawson earlier, I had the health board. I talked with them. They are aware of what a cat cafe is. They did some research. Obviously, Erie doesn't have one. So she did, do some research on the outskirts, and basically, yeah, I mean, it's doable. I just have to make sure that I have the implications that they want me to have in place, such as a separate entrance that goes into the cat lounge versus the cafe. Not serving food in the cat lounge part, only strictly in the cafe side. Also, there would need to be some, like mop cleaning sections on both sides, and stuff like that. The bathrooms also, when I had your building inspector come in, we seemed to, solve that problem. There shouldn't be an issue there. It's ADA accessible and all that stuff. So, and the health department obviously is very, she said that she's more than willing to come to the space to work with us in whatever way needs to be done. And I'm not sure if you were mentioning, you asked earlier about, caring for the animals in the back.
Well, yeah, you kind of answered. Well, yeah, I did want to know if you were going to have a separate area to like
Correct.
Cats would be different than dogs. But to the question that was raised and what I proposed, would you have a problem making this for cats exclusively? Or did you have a hope somewhere down the line of expanding this into other types of domestic animals?
No, just cats. Cats are way more easier. There's more cats out there that need adopted than dogs. The dogs don't really have an issue getting adopted versus cats. The feral cat community in Erie is pretty it's pretty excessive. So really, and also cats are more independent, you know. Dogs have a lot more responsibility. There are dog cafes popping up around though. I mean, not around here yet, but it's something that is happening. I personally don't want that.
To the members, I'm going to leave the request as asked at this time. I'm not going to specify it with the cats. It's her proposal is to operate a cat cafe, which consists of animal care. So I'm going to leave it at that at this time, if you don't mind, and proceed through. Is there anything else, Ms. Rupp, you'd like to add?
The only thing I want to say is, you know, thanks for your time. I really think this is something that would be great in Erie. I have a really great following. I have a lot of people that have been supporting me for the last year and a half working on this. And I think it would be something that would really bring something cool to the Erie community, which I think we really need.
Okay.
I've got a couple questions, Ed.
Okay.
Is there going to be any, there won't be any intermingling? In other words, you can't bring your cat into the cafe, can you?
You cannot bring your cat from home, no.
Okay, that's just checking with that. And the second thing is, I know the cats are going to be kind of boarded there during the night, but during the day, is there going to be a specific, caretaker for them, or is it going to be kind of
absolutely.
over there?
Yeah, we're going to have someone on the cat lounge side at all times, whether it's someone from Because You Care or for me specifically hiring someone that will be watching people with the cats, making sure rules are followed, things are taken care of. There's also going to be a cat break room in the back, if you will, for cats to kind of escape people if they need to do their business or if they need to take a snack break or whatever. So definitely there will be implications to make sure that the cats are safe and they're good along with humans.
Well, there won't be any person there all night long, so they'll be there alone for a certain amount of time then.
Yeah, they'll be alone overnight, but I, definitely will probably have cameras installed and stuff like that inside just to keep an eye out. But, they probably will fall into a routine where they will probably fall asleep at night and then they will be up when people are there.
Because I know cats are pretty inquisitive. They may try to leave when not supposed to be.
Have some tricks up their sleeves, right?
Yes, yes. That's all I have.
Is there anyone else in favor of this?
Ed, I do have a question. This is Selena. Ms. Rupp, do you have a COVID plan in place for opening and operating the facility?
Yes, I do. I definitely have an idea of possibly, like, if people want to come into the cafe side, I would like for them just to order their own beverages, or if comes a point where people can't come inside, Because You Care and I will definitely be working together to come up with ideas. Because You Care has a great following as well, very supportive people, many volunteers. They've already helped me so much now. But the whole takeout situation, I have worked in many small businesses, a very large portion of my life, specifically here in Erie and in Pittsburgh, where I've worked and come up with creative ideas to, implement and make sure that we would be able to keep running during, a situation, hopefully that it will not happen again anytime soon, but who knows?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the board? Is there anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else in favor? Is anyone opposed? Is there anyone opposed to the idea of the request? Hearing none, board members, are you ready or prepared for the vote?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Then how shall we vote? Each person, please announce yourself.
Jake, are you gonna call the vote?
Yes, I can call the vote. I will read the member's name and I can either say approve or deny. Ed Dawson,
I'm in favor. Approved.
Mike Horniak,
Approved.
Selena King,
I'm going to deny.
John Reitinger,
I'm also going to deny.
and Jeff Johnson, I don't believe has signed in. So we still have 4 members. We have a 2 to approve and 2 to deny, which is deemed, tie vote is deemed a denial, if I'm not mistaken. Dawn, can you confirm?
No, that's correct.
So what do we do from here?
At this point, based on the vote of the board, your next move is to come back to the office. But at the board level here, it's a tie, which means it's a denial.
So how can I appeal this, or how can I mean, is this it? Does this mean that it's done and I can't move on?
Dawn, can you answer for us? Dawn is our solicitor. This is Selena King.
You can appeal the board decision. I can't offer legal advice. I can tell you procedurally. You can appeal the board decision. You'd have to speak to an attorney as to the grounds that you would do that. I think the other option, I think you can reapply if you've changed it, I think in a year, but I'm not sure about the time frame. I know if you've made changes to your application, you can reapply, but I think there's a year, but I'm not.
Year.
I'd have to check on that. I know there's a time frame. The appeal, you'd have to speak to an attorney as to the grounds that you would appeal the denial, under what grounds. But you do have the right to appeal it to it would be to the Erie County Court of Common Pleas, which would serve as the appellate court here. It would be heard in front of a common pleas court judge.
Can I also ask, am I allowed to ask why the people who denied it, why they felt to deny it? Am I allowed to ask that?
Dawn?
Well, the people who voted are free to comment, but they're not required to.
I'll comment. That's John Reitinger again. I'm not comfortable with the animals being left overnight, number one. And I'm really not comfortable with the care part of it down the road. You know, if it was more specific to you as a cat facility, and like I said, I hope you did do well if you do go in there. But I'm not, and I love animals. I have 3 dogs myself, and my son has cats. And I'm not comfortable with them being left from whatever, 9 p.m. or 9 to 9 a.m. I'm just not comfortable with that.
Can I ask you a question? When you go on vacation or when you go do something for long periods of time, what do you do?
I actually pay someone $1,000 to stay at my house and take care of my animals.
And I understand that because you do have dogs, so there are a little bit more specifications for that. I get that.
I would do the same if I had cats.
Okay.
No.
Well, I guess thanks for your time.
I pay someone to do that.
Sure. There's not as many cat boarding areas that there are dogs, but hey, to each their own. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, and Ms. Rupp, I just wanted to say on record, this is Selena, I also denied it.
Yeah.
I share the same sentiments with my colleague, Mr. Reitinger, but also I would have liked to see some more support from Because You Care, as you named them as a partner, as well as even the Masonic Temple where you're renting space.
What do you mean by that, though? So what did you want me to do?
If they would have come forward and spoke today and said how they were going to be supporting you, this is a huge undertaking for one person.
I was never told I had that option.
Okay,
So if that was the
I'm
case,
sorry.
I would have totally had them on board.
Yeah, you can always have, at the end, our chairman calls for people who want to speak in favor for the petition or people who want to speak against, because this is put out to the public. And that was what that segment was for. So I apologize if that was not
No one ever
articulated
told
to
me
you
that.
when you
Nobody.
applied for the.
I was actually
so-
told days before I had to hand in my check for $300 that I had to get a letter from the Masonic Temple allowing me to do this, which I did get in like 3 days time. So that was something
Okay.
else that was last minute.
Okay. And I
hate to
understand your
butt- I hate to
frustration.
butt-
I would like you to, if you can get with Jake Welsh and Andy Zimmerman from our zoning department and code enforcement and just discuss your next steps, I would encourage you to do that.
The time frame when you can reapply with any changes.
Dawn, can I interject just for 1 second?
Please.
Dina mentioned that she had gotten a letter from the Masonic Temple. Was that distributed to the board members prior to the meeting as part of the application packet?
That I know.
I don't remember seeing it specifically.
I sent it to Jenna.
I do have a copy of it.
It's not
I'm
in-
sorry, Jake, you were
just
asking,
wanted-
we did
Not
not
in the
get a
packet.
letter of support. No, we just have her drawings and her business plan. And
Well, I can read it into the testimony if you'd like to hear. I do have
We're
a copy
going
of the
kind of
letter
far
from the
afield
Masonic
here.
Temple.
The record's actually been closed. We are getting into an area here that I'm not sure is proper.
Well, I
If
just
there was
wanted to
something
point
left
that out.
Yeah, if there was something left out, we can discuss the proper remedy, but technically, once the vote was taken, the record was sealed, or the record was closed, I should say. We've been loosening the regulations a little bit because of the unusual situation here. But definitely, if something was not presented to the board, I think that's a significant, important factor.
Dawn, in light of the fact that one of the board members had a concern about it, and it wasn't part of the package, but it was delivered to Jake. For the purpose of the record, I believe we should have it read into the record and request a revote. If you don't believe that that's proper, that's fine. Please acknowledge and let me know. But as a result of not having all of the information in the record, I'd like to have all the information in the record and that we're voting on the record in its entirety.
I think that's a good idea. I'm not aware of anything that prevents that. If the board approves your motion, I don't think, again, under the circumstances, I don't think that there's anything that prevents that.
I thank you. Board members, would someone put forth a motion so that we will have the entire record? There's a document that was excluded.
I'll move.
Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
Zoning Hearing Board, sorry to interrupt. I'm also viewing this on Facebook, and Ethan Sykes is on from the Masonic Temple. I don't know how you want him to come in at the end or come in now to say his piece, but if you'd like me to.
Did he not have an opportunity to testify earlier when Mr. Dawson asked for people in support of the? Well, once again, if the board doesn't have a problem with it, I'd rather err on the side of information coming in if it was available before the vote, but we just didn't get it because of a procedural error.
Well, we need to go back first, and if there's an Ethan Sykes, is that his name?
Ethan, yes.
Ethan Sykes?
I can
No,
bring him in, yeah.
I need to bring him in and swear him in first.
I'm sorry, really quick, guys. Jeff Johnson just called. He cannot get in and he wants to submit his vote. So we do have our other board member. He just cannot get in at all. So Frank, if I can send you his number and you can help him navigate in.
Yeah, have him give me a call.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Well, we're waiting for
All in
Jake.
favor of the motion, please.
Mike Gorniak, yes.
Selena King, yes.
Ed Dawson, yes.
Okay, so the motion to have the Masonic Temple letter read and to hear from Mr. Sykes has been adopted. I just want to state for the record that this is an unusual situation in that the vote was already taken. Normally, the case would have been, the record would be closed at that point. But again, if this was information that for some reason procedurally was not brought to the board's attention, I think the error should be in favor of the appellant that
Thank you.
to hear this evidence.
Let the record reflect. Can we hear the reading of the support letter?
Yeah.
This is Ethan. I'm on the call.
Jake?
Ethan, the letter is from Ethan.
Correct. On behalf of the Masonic Temple Association.
Yes, Ethan, if you'd like to read the letter off yourself, you're certainly welcome to do so. Otherwise, I can certainly read it.
Before you do that,
I'm-
I'd like Ethan to be sworn in. State your name, address. For the purpose of the
Ethan-
record, Ethan, I need you to state your
Okay,
name.
sorry. I thought there was something else coming. Ethan Rogers Sykes, 4220 Melrose Avenue, Erie, PA, 16509.
And you're the director of the Masonic Temple, Mr. Sykes?
I'm the president of the Temple Association, or a 501c2.
Thank you.
Jake, I guess it would be up to you to ask, does he swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help to God?
I do.
Let the records reflect. We're hearing from Ethan Sykes.
I apologize. I didn't chime up earlier. I think I misunderstood the procedure. But I thought the letter would stand in the event that there was a misunderstanding on my part. So I'll read the letter if that's all right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would satisfy both. But
Okay, to whom it may concern, the Masonic Temple Association is the title holding company for Masonic Temple located at 32 West 8th Street, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16501. Including in the building are 30 West 8th and 28 West 8th addresses. We understand that Dina Rupp is seeking a zoning use variance in order to operate a cat cafe. Please treat this letter as an acknowledgement that we understand and are supportive of the request. Respectfully submitted, Ethan Rogers Sykes, past master president.
I thank you. Once again, is there anyone in favor of the proposed? Is
Mr.
there
Sykes, if you want to,
anyone else in favor of the proposed?
Mr. Sykes, if you wanted to say something, you
He did.
Do I need to go on the record again? Okay. Yeah, I'm in
no,
favor.
you don't have to. I just you,
No, I'm
you
in
mentioned
favor.
earlier that you weren't aware that you had the opportunity. I'm just saying this. This is
I
your opportunity.
thought the letter would make that redundant, but no, I'm
Okay.
happy to go on the record again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jake, I ask that you call for the vote.
Well, we have an issue here with Jeff, who's apparently, I'm sorry about all this, but we have another board member who's trying to get a hold of us. I can't seem to get a hold of him. I don't know how he's trying to contact us. We have the fifth board member, who I understand has, if I'm correct, and we'll need to put this on the record, if he has heard all of the testimony and wants to vote, but just because of mechanical problems or, you know, problems with the server or whatever, wasn't able to log in. I'm going to speak to him for a second. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'm sorry about that delay. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson informed me, for the record, that he did hear all of the testimony. He just wasn't able to log on to participate, and that he wanted to vote in favor of the proposal, which would make the vote 3-2. He gave me his authorization for a proxy vote. Again, the legal requirement there would be whether or not he had the opportunity to hear all of the same testimony that the board heard, and he indicated to me that he did.
Jake, I call for the vote.
Okay, so voting for the appeal 12-221 by Dina Rupp.
And one last thing, if
Mr.
I
Goff?
may, it doesn't have to be just a yes or no. The board members are free to offer their rationale if they want.
I thank you. It's not our first rodeo.
No, that was a mistake from earlier.
Okay.
I didn't mean it that way.
Let's move on. We've only got one appeal so far here.
This is Mike Horniak.
Mr. Dawson,
In favor?
Mr. Horniak,
In favor.
Ms. King,
I'm sorry, I was on mute. No.
Mr. Reidinger,
No.
Mr. Johnson,
Johnson votes yes. He gave me his proxy vote and instructed me to vote in favor of the proposal.
Jake, your office
Okay,
will
we
govern
have-
itself accordingly.
right? We have a 3-2 vote in favor of the appeal. The appeal is approved.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is Appeal 12-222 by Bernie Slomsky concerning property located at 60406 East 23rd Street in an R2 zoning district. The appellant is seeking a dimensional variance for a 16 by 16 addition that exceeds permitted lot coverage. Per section 205 of the zoning ordinance, 50% coverage is permitted, 64% is being proposed. I believe Mr. Slomsky is logged in, but appears to be muted.
Mr. Slumsky, if you're logged in, if you look in your left corner, there's a red microphone that has a slash going through it. Could you unmute yourself? Mr. Slumsky, if you could see your picture, there's a red microphone on there. Could you unmute yourself?
Thank you, Ed.
Now
That
you see it?
Yes.
All right, I apologize. Anyone just said Zoom on me, so I apologize.
Okay.
All right. You guys ready?
All persons in this case, sorry, I should have muted. All persons pertaining to this case, could you be sworn in at this time?
Yes.
Please state your name and your address.
Bernie Slomsky, 3227 Regis Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16510.
Anyone else?
I believe Steve Lewis is on too as well. Steve, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm here. I'm in the hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. You Ed? Yes.
I know Steve was watching, so I'm texting him now.
I just brought Steve in.
You do have him?
Do we have another person? Jake Welsh, do you hear anybody else to be sworn in? Jake's on mute.
I don't believe so.
Okay, is there anyone else to be sworn in?
Steve Lewis is supposed to be there, but I'm not, I just texted him. Not sure where he's at, but he was.
Bernie, would you proceed?
Sure. Appreciate everybody's time today, and I'm just going to read from my statement, if that's okay with everybody. The Society of Holy Trinity respectfully requests that the City of Erie Zoning Board grant a zoning variance to build a 16 by 16 deck with a roof that will be utilized for our smoking members on property index 5026-217, 604-06 East 23rd Ash Street side. This zoning variance is requested because the addition of the deck exceeds the lot coverage permitted according to Section 205 of the Erie zoning law. The reason for this request to build a deck with walls and with a roof is for health reasons. The Society of Holy Trinity, which was closed on March 16th due to COVID-19, has developed a strategic plan to reopen safely from the COVID-19 pandemic. And the key component of this reopening plan is that the Society of Holy Trinity has become a non-smoking facility when we reopened on June 26th. The reason that we decided to go non-smoking is that there's documented evidence that there is a high risk of COVID-19 being spread through secondhand smoke, a risk that we are unwilling to expose our members and employees to. We could not open back up as a smoking facility because of the huge health risks to our employees and members. The proposed deck addition will have no negative impact on the neighborhood whatsoever. This deck will be built on an area that is currently covered with gravel and is in a fenced-in area of the club property that is not visible to the neighborhood because of a white vinyl privacy fence. This deck will still leave approximately 35% of the gravel lot open to the sidewalk. This deck will not exceed the current length of the current club building that will be next to the deck or the house to the north side of the property, north side of the deck, which we do not own. The house that was previously on this property before it was demolished went all the way up to the sidewalk. And again, with the addition of the deck, there's still about 30% of the lot left open to the sidewalk. And this deck would still be behind all structures on the block. There has been no major building project in the Trinity Square 23rd and Ash Street area within the last 30 years, with the exception of the large expansion project taken on by the Society of Holy Trinity 3 years ago, utilizing the abandoned adjoining property that was acquired by the Society of Holy Trinity at an Erie County tax sale. And that property was placed back on the Erie County tax roll with the Society of Holy Trinity's purchase of this property. The Society of Holy Trinity has been closed since March 16th, and we just reopened on Monday, June 26th, and the addition of the deck will help minimize the financial impact of going non-smoking, as some members have chosen not to return to the club since reopened. The impact of being closed the entire second quarter has really put us in a severe financial strain on the Society of Holy Trinity. It is imperative that we are able to open strong with going non-smoking and at 50% capacity and social distancing following all the CDC recommended guidelines. It is an extremely risky financial venture to go non-smoking, as close to 50% of our membership favored remaining a smoking establishment. But this is for health reasons. And any other club that has gone non-smoking has experienced a decline in normal conditions, anywhere from 3 months to a year. But because of the high risk of COVID spreading through the secondhand smoke, our hope is that by providing a first-class smoking area, we will be able to keep our smoking members happy and our non-smoking members and employees safe and healthy with minimal negative financial impact. In order to open on June 26, we are advised that as long as there was no permanent roof attached, we could begin with the construction of the deck with the walls and a tarp or a tent prior to this variance hearing. And we needed to be able to have the smoking deck available open on June 26, as we cannot afford to lose another month of income, as there is no guarantee on how long we'll be able to remain open, especially with the 22 more COVID cases today in Erie County and Allegheny County closing restaurants and bars that have been previously open. The Society of Holy Trinity has partnered with the Sisters of St. Joseph Eastside Neighborhood Network, and along with Seraphine's Food Market and Holy Trinity Church, we are considered one of the cornerstones of the Trinity Square area of East Erie. We strive to keep the neighborhood safe, and the granting of this variance will allow us to continue to solidify our presence in the Trinity Square area and enable us to continue to provide financial support to needy organizations within the city and county of Erie that depend on charitable donations to continue their operations, and also enable us to continue to keep the Trinity Square neighborhood safe by cooperating with police and providing videos for various crimes and shootings that have occurred way too often in our neighborhood, as recently as a week ago with the 20 shots plus fired at Rumors Lounge, and just this past weekend at the Energy Club at 22nd and Wayne. We desperately need this variance for the deck addition so that we be able to satisfy our smoking members and solidify our financial position in order to continue our good work. This variance request is not a luxury, but a necessity for our club's survival, not only financially, but for health reasons as well. There will be some clubs that will not survive this COVID pandemic, and we are trying not to be one of them. Appreciate your consideration on this request. I did get a text from Steve that will not recognize my microphone or something is what he was saying, but I'll try to answer your questions as best as I can.
I understand that Jeff Johnson has joined us.
I am, Ed, I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions from our board members?
I have a question.
John?
Are permits required for this project?
Yes. And the permit was issued.
Do you have a date or when that was issued?
I have it downstairs. If you want to hang on a second, I can go grab it.
Well, no, that's okay. But my main question is why are you here now? Because the project is already finished.
We didn't add the roof. As we were told, we could go as far as we could by the variance, and we needed a variance to make it a permanent structure by adding a roof. So that we have a tarp over it. And if we waited another 4 weeks for the variance hearing, then we'd have another 2 or 3 weeks for construction. We may not even be open in August here because of everything going on. We got to take a risk, and I understand that it's not a normal procedure, but it was something that we were in a corner that we in order to remain financially stable, we had to take advantage of the door when it was open.
Is there a way
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Jeff.
I'll text it to you, Jeff.
All right. I just don't understand how a permit was issued without either a variance prior to that, or, you know, it seems like we hear this quite a bit, you know, it's like after the fact. You know, you don't have a roof, but I mean, is this a deck or is this a room? I mean, the photograph shows 3 walls.
The floor is open. I mean, there's no foundation. You can see the ground underneath. We put the walls up for the protection because of the neighborhood that we're in. We really can't put an open deck like some other neighborhoods might be able to.
Okay.
So that's why it's right now it has no foundation. It has no insulation underneath. And essentially, it's a deck with walls. It looks like a building, but it's we still call it a deck. That's what we refer to it at the club.
Excuse me, John, where did that picture that you just referred to? I can't find it in my packet.
No, I took this
Oh,
morning.
you took it.
Right.
Oh, so you're introducing that as an exhibit then?
Correct.
Okay.
Let the records reflect that members entering an exhibit. Don, would you please show that so all members can see it?
Yep. And there again, I'm not saying that I'm against the project. I'm kind of against the process. You know, I mean, you're here after the fact asking for the variance on something that's already done or close to done. You know.
Again, these are normal circumstances, and I apologize for we didn't follow the procedure, but if we were to remain open, we needed that, and we couldn't open without it. And
Yeah, I don't want to go back and forth with this, but you said that someone had talked to you prior to this and said, "Oh, okay, go ahead and start."
Right.
You know, but when did you get the permit at that time, or you just said?
That's a question. That's a question Steve Lewis can answer. Yeah, he did all that legwork, and I'm calling him right now. He's trying to dial back in. So.
Yeah.
We just didn't do this to do this.
Well, I understand, you know, but there is a process.
Jake, can you?
That's all I have.
Jake, can you confirm that it was applied for?
Yes, a permit was applied for.
You know that date?
I don't have the actual date of the permit. I believe it was about the same time that.
Excuse me again. Try it again, Jake.
Yeah, the permit was issued, not for the roof, but for the initial deck structure.
Okay.
I guess that's my point. That's all I have.
For clarification purposes, is your point that the deck was built before the permit or it was built after?
My clarification is the deck was built prior to the zoning.
Just a point of clarification, the deck itself is a permitted structure because it does not have a roof over it. So it does not affect lot coverage. The only building structures that affect the lot coverage calculation are structures that are roofed. So the difference was an open deck without a roof. Even a temporary covering like an awning is not considered a permanent roof structure. So the difference really is that they're asking to have that permanent roof structure over top of the deck.
That's exactly correct. Thank you.
Member, Are there other members? Questions? Questions from the other
Is the
members?
deck attached? I'm assuming it is. It's not a detached structure, right, Jake? Mr. Slomsky, it
It is attached, sir, yes.
is attached to the building, okay.
Jake, is that clear?
It's probably a better question for our building inspector, who would have reviewed the design drawings in more detail than myself, whether it's considered attached or not. From a zoning standpoint, it is considered an attached structure, whether it's physically attached or not, because it is in such close proximity to the building.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in favor of the proposal?
We do have someone trying to come in, Heather Caspar from Sister St. Joseph.
I don't know if I'm on or not. Can you hear me?
Heather, could you turn up your volume a little?
I will certainly try to figure that out.
Heather, could you state your name and give your address for the purpose of being sworn in to testify?
My name is Heather Casper. My address is 2644 Poplar Street, Erie, 16508. I'm calling in representing Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network, and our location is 425 West 18th Street, Erie, 16502.
Casper, is that C-A-S-P-A-R?
It is, yes.
Thank you.
Jake, could you swear him in?
Heather, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather, proceed.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to speak in favor, in support of Bernie Slomsky's request for this deck. It is very similar to what we've seen the Nova Aurora Club operate with great success. Their deck that is also used for smoking and also for, it is covered now, and it has pretty tall walls to protect it from people just wandering in from the neighborhood as they're conducting their business there too. And we also are in favor of the Bernie's establishment being an anchor there in that neighborhood. And in fact, we rely on anchors like his, especially within neighborhoods that currently are experiencing some great difficulties, but historically really rely on anchors like Bernie's as well. And so I'm strongly in support, the Neighborhood Network is strongly in support of this variance so that he can continue, especially right now with the virus, to have that safe space for people to come in and patronize his establishment and hope to keep it financially stable.
Does the Sisters of St. Joseph have any direct involvement with Holy Trinity? Or
Bernie Slomsky is actually a member of our East Side Neighborhood Association and Advisory Committee. He has assisted us in some of the planning efforts there, him on behalf of his establishment. So we have done quite a bit of neighborhood organization and outreach in the area immediately surrounding the establishment, and that has been with the direct assistance of Bernie and Trinity.
thank you.
Last, is there anyone else in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Is there anyone else opposed? Jake, we call for the vote.
Mr. Dawson,
Approve.
Mr. Horniak,
Approve.
Ms. King,
I'm going to approve, as a resident of that neighborhood, I can attest to the work that Holy Trinity has done and also their partnership with the Sisters of St. Joseph. There is a lot of unrest in our neighborhood, and it's important that we're able to keep them here to be able to financially support the efforts that are going on to combat violence and just blight in our city.
Thank you. Mr. Reitinger?
I agree with Ms. King, but I'm going to vote to approve, but no to the process.
I'm not sure what that means.
Should not have been built prior to the zoning.
Mr. Johnson?
Approve.
Thank you. We have a 5-0 vote to approve. The appeal is approved.
Thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Before we move on, a paper flew across the room. I have to get it. John, I did want to ask you, would you be good enough to hang on to that picture until the next time I see you? If there should be an appeal, that was made part of the record and I would have to include it. So, and just give me a second. So then Jeff is back with us, then we don't need to worry about the proxy vote. That's what I was trying to say earlier, Ed. Thank you for correcting me that my mic was off. I was talking to an empty mic. I'm sure that was interesting to see. But anyway, just give me a moment. I just need to grab a paper. I'm back.
All right, Jake, we'll call next case.
Next appeal is appeal number 12223 by the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network concerning property located at 1816 Myrtle Street, which is in an RLB, Residential Limited Business Zoning District. The appellant is seeking a dimensional variance to construct an accessory structure associated with an urban garden that exceeds the permitted square footage. Per section 305.56B of the zoning ordinance, urban garden accessory structures shall be no larger than 100 square feet. A 432 square foot structure is proposed.
And who do we have in favor of the presentation?
I believe Sister Phyllis is going to speak on behalf of the sisters.
All persons who are present who desire to speak in favor or against, please state your name and address to be sworn in.
My name is Sister Phyllis Hilbert. My address is 1125 West 9th Street, Erie, 16502.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Heather Casper as well. I was sworn in earlier.
Well,
And
for our purposes, could you just be sworn in for this particular?
yes.
My address is 2640.
Name and address.
Heather Casper, 2644 Poplar Street. I'm here for Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network, 425 West 18th Street, Erie, 16502.
Thank you. Anyone else? We may proceed.
Go ahead, Heather, please.
I would like to read from the statement that we provided the zoning hearing board. The Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network requests a variance of zoning regulations regarding the permissible size of accessory structures for our property located at 1816 Myrtle Street. We agreed to accept ownership of this parcel last year via a quitclaim deed following the wishes of the estate of its deceased owner. The property title is encumbered by several liens which have obstructed attempts to sell the vacant parcel. The network is working to clear these encumbrances, but will not plan any permanent development or capital improvement prior to clearing the title. In the meantime, we wish to place a 12-foot by 36-foot accessory structure at this site to support 2 additional and nearby properties we currently use. These are 1824 Myrtle Street, which is our urban farm, and 331 West 18th Street, a site we refer to as our Field of Dreams, where we hold community events, including our seasonal Little Italy Farmers Market. We did provide a map to the board to show the proximity of those two properties with the parcel in question today. While we do plan to start some seeds and grow garden crops at this new property location, the intended function of this accessory structure falls more closely under the description of an equipment storage shed, which is listed in zoning ordinance section 205.2. This, as opposed to a standard garden shed with the requirements of 10-foot by 10-foot maximum size. In that other zoning ordinance, these accessory structures are used for equipment storage, sheds, as well as other purposes. And that's how we wish to use this in support of the urban farm, which is nearby, as well as the farmer's market, some equipment that we would like to store there. The variance will not alter the nature of the district or impair development of adjacent properties, nor will it be detrimental to any public welfare. Additionally, the variance will allow us to use this property in an immediate way, which benefits the entire neighborhood and without any material modification. Approval of this variance will allow us to secure storage of equipment related to our surrounding community garden and farmers market, as well as our community outreach and engagement events. Also, general maintenance and landscaping support we provide to the entire neighborhood. This in the way of garbage cleanup, mowing and trimming of streetscape improvements on 18th Street, as well as other activities as well. The planned structure is attractive and designed to look like the conforming garden sheds we already have located at our 4 community gardens in Little Italy. The structure will be mounted non-permanently and placed within the parcel in accordance with all zoning ordinances. We have invested heavily in Little Italy neighborhood. We plan to continue to do this, and we firmly believe that this zoning variance will assist our efforts to do so in the future. Thank you. That's my statement.
Can't hear.
Heather, this is Dawn. I don't mean to waste time. I really don't. I was hoping you could just tell me, it was what you just read was very concise. But I'm very familiar with that neighborhood. I grew up near there. I'm using the basketball court as my frame of reference. Can you just tell me exactly where this is and what it is you're doing? Like, part of the property? Are you using it to grow vegetables? I'm not quite sure what you're doing here with this property until you can clear the title to sell it.
Are you referring to the basketball court at Ruby Schaaf Park on 19th?
Yeah, that's what I'm using as my frame of reference. So where from there is it?
Okay, so I'll walk you, if you walk across the street, if you walk across 19th Street, then you would end up in our urban farm, which is right on the corner of 19th and Myrtle. And then if you continue walking north through that parcel on the corner, then you walk through one vacant parcel, and then you hit the alley right behind 19th Street. continue walking past the alley and you end up in this parcel. So it is facing Myrtle Street on the east side, and it faces the alley on the south side of the parcel.
I think it would actually be on the west side, wouldn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yes.
And what is it you're planning there? Was I right? Is it vegetables or, I wasn't sure if you were putting up a structure like a fountain or if you were actually growing something. I was a little confused.
Because of the encumbrances on the title, we don't want to put any capital expenditures into that property. We don't know, it may take years. The liens are, some of them are federal. It may take years to clear that title. So while we may start some seeds there, it would all be raised boxes. The primary use for, the most convenient use for us is this accessory structure, which will allow us to store some of the garden and farming equipment. And by that, I just mean the biggest piece of equipment would be a riding lawnmower. So nothing tractor.
And this is the equipment for all your other properties throughout the whole lower, you know, the old Little Italy section. Is that correct?
Sort of a staging area, yes.
Okay, now I got it. Okay, thank you.
Sister, can I, just to clarify, I'd like to, Dawn, this might refresh a little bit. This is where it's located on the east side of Myrtle.
West side.
Or west side of Myrtle, actually. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I think I have one overhead view. Mine's not as good as yours. Yeah, thank you, John.
That's just a Google Earth map, you know, that I.
Yeah, you have a color version. Yeah, we have a black and white.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one question, if I might. Okay, Ed? This is 12 by 36 feet. If I can ask Jake, does this require a foundation under it since it's over 100 square feet or no? You're muted.
Jake, you're muted.
Jake's gone.
It will have to meet the building code requirements. Since it's over 100 square feet, it's subject to the city's building code.
Right, because in the notes, it says it's a temporary structure. So, I mean, is it a prefab, you know, one of those Amish built sheds, or how is it, you know, if it's going to have a foundation under it, it's a little different than a, you know, 12 by 36 is more of a garage than it is a shed.
Sisters, are you aware?
Yes.
Do you plan to have a foundation placed under the building?
We plan to create the foundation that's required for the building code, yes.
Because she's
Right
speaking.
now, right now it is just one of those Amish build sheds exactly as you described it, John, but we intend to install it in a way that meets all the building codes.
Okay. Will it have electricity and heat?
It will not.
Okay. That's all I have.
Board members. Is there anyone else for, in favor of the proposed?
Yes, again, it's Sister Phyllis Hilbert. Can I speak now for it?
Yes, please.
Yes, you know, this shed is definitely something that we need, because every Monday when we do our farmers market, we have to tug and every kind of equipment you can imagine to be able to put on this wonderful neighborhood event called the farmers market. In addition, so we're using spaces that we can find in our existing building, and then dragging it to that spot, 3. So this is like very necessary. It's not anything extravagant. It will certainly increase, it will improve the neighborhood, in my opinion. That little spot is left most of the time uncared for. So you can imagine we will take care of that. And with the addition of the shed, it will relieve us of a burden, actually, of setting up and taking down and finding storage. So it's really a necessity. Thank you for considering it.
Thank you. Board, is there any other questions? Hearing none, or is there anyone opposed to the structure? Is there anyone opposed to the structure? Hearing none. Jake, I would call for the vote.
Okay, we have a call for the vote on appeal number 12223 by the Sisters of St. Joseph. Mr. Dawson,
In favor.
Mr. Horniak,
Well, I think it'll be an improvement on that neighborhood, and I vote yes to approve.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a 5-0 vote to approve the appeal. The appeal is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jake, next item.
Next item on the agenda is appeal number 12224 by Juan Monger. This is concerning property located at 3304 McClelland Avenue in an industrial park zoning district. The appellant is seeking a use variance to operate a church at this location. Per section 206B of the city zoning ordinance, churches are not a permitted use in an industrial park.
All persons who intend to testify, be it negative, for or against, please state your name, your address, and be sworn in. All persons for or against the proposed variance, please state your name, your address, and be sworn in.
Juan Monger, 3228 Regis Drive, Erie, PA 16510. And I have my pastor, John Wright, on the other side.
John Wright must present himself and must be sworn in if he intends to testify.
Yes, my name is John Wright. I'm the pastor of the church. My address is 23 Mead Avenue, Erie, PA 16509.
Is there anyone else who opposed or for the proposal to be sworn in? Jake, please swear them in.
Yes, this is
Do you
Pat
swear to-
Grab with
Wait, please, go ahead.
Pat Grab, the real estate agent for the property. My address is 534 Vermont Avenue, Erie 16505.
Thank you. Mr. Welsh.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
Probably
truth?
not. Try it anyway.
Need a
Please
response.
acknowledge by saying yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you. Proceed. Who should we hear from? Who shall we hear from regarding the
Oh, okay, this is me, Pastor John Wright. Let me speak. We are a refugee community in Erie, PA. And we have been actually gathering at Family Worship Center, but because it's not our church, we have not been able to do our worship services effectively. So we've been looking for a place to worship, and it's very hard to find the church building. We have already looked a couple buildings, and they are very small for us, not suitable for us to worship. And there are some buildings which are very, very big, and which is not suitable for us. And so we found this building which is good size-wise, location-wise, and the cost itself. And church service and worship and prayer has always been a great part of our community, and especially for our older people who are not able to speak English here, because of the new environment here, and because of language barrier, many are stressed. So we are looking for a place of worship where we can gather and talk together, so that they would be relieved from their stresses and would be able to worship and do our services effectively. So that's the reason we were asking if you could allow us to, I think, remodel the building internally to make a worship kind of structure for us. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rai, this is the solicitor. I'm just, you were speaking kind of fast, and I want to make sure that I got everything accurate for the report. You said that this is the Nepalese, if I'm saying that correctly, community here in Erie. Is that correct, or?
Yes, correct, sir.
Okay, and are you located, is your, the bulk of your community in a certain part of the city, or pretty much?
Yes, that location is suitable for us because many of our people live in and around that area. And if you know the Bird Drive housing areas, and the what is it called, Harbor Homes housing areas, and Tacoma Road housing areas, John Horan Garden, and around the downtown areas.
Thank you.
Anyone else in favor? Please speak.
Yeah, this is Pat Grab. We feel that the property, since it was already under a non-conforming use and currently laid out as an office space, doesn't necessarily fall under what the IP industrial park zoning is going for. So we feel like that a church could be one of the highest and best uses for the property, given that it is a large building with 2 large parking lots that could accommodate a big congregation of people.
Mr. Grab, this is the solicitor again, for my report. Who are you and your relationship to the appellant, if you could, please?
I am his real estate agent, and I also have the property listed for sale.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else that would like to testify in favor of this proposal? Hearing none. Is there anyone opposed to this proposal? Is anyone else opposed to this proposal? I'd like to hear from the board members.
Question?
Thank you.
Just so everybody's clear again, this is a map of the location. It's at 33rd and McClellan, would be the southwest corner. And you can see it adequate, the parking lots and the building itself. That's also a Google Earth photograph. My question is prior to this was a daycare at some point?
Yes, that's correct. It's been a daycare for 5+ years at least there.
Okay. That's basically it.
Did they move out, Mr. Grab, the daycare? Did they relocate?
They close their doors.
They closed their doors. So the property is vacant.
That was actually a follow-up question. The question that I was going to ask, following up on John, on the photo he showed, I was going to ask about the parking situation because you mentioned that it was an ideal building for the size of the congregation and that there would be ample parking. Jake, is there what are the restrictions? I know what it is for apartments, 2 to 1, and I know what it is for certain businesses, but do we have parking requirements for churches like this?
We do. I'm looking at it right now to look at the specific parking requirements. It's actually 1 per 5 seats in the principal assembly room. If it's row seating, such as pews, it's 1 per every 20 feet of row.
So I guess, Mr. Grab, you might be able to answer that best, or Mr. Rye, Pastor Rye. There should be enough parking then for the specifics that Jake just mentioned?
I would think so. There's 45 spots, it looks like, based on the aerial of the 2 parking lots. I don't know how many they expect to attend, though.
Okay, thank you.
This is Mike Horniak. I have a question for the pastor. Pastor, is there any plans? I know churches, places like that have a tendency to start daycares. I know you said that the daycare moved out, but is there any plans for a daycare, or is it strictly going to be a worship service?
Yes, sir. It's strictly for worship service.
Thank you. That's all I needed to know.
Is there anyone else to testify in favor? Is there anyone else to testify in favor? Hearing none. Is there anyone opposed? Is there anyone else opposed? Hearing none. Any board member have any other questions? Hearing none. Jake, I call for the vote.
Thank you. Calling for the vote on appeal number 12224 by Juan Monger. Mr. Dawson?
In favor.
Mr. Horniak?
In favor.
Ms. King?
In favor.
Mr. Reidinger?
In favor.
Mr. Johnson?
Approve.
Thank you. We have a 5-0 vote in favor of the appeal. The appeal is approved.
Thank you all, sir. I appreciate your help.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Welsh will call for the next appeal.
The next appeal is appeal number 12225 by Kilwan Lockman concerning property located at 607 West 18th Street in a C4 traditional neighborhood commercial zoning district. The appellant is seeking use and dimensional variances to operate a gas station with associated convenience store at this location. Per section 204.18 of the zoning ordinance, gasoline service stations are not a permitted use in a C4 district. Per section 305.43B, stores in a C4 zoning district shall not exceed 2,500 square feet and shall not have fuel pumps. The existing structure is 3,715 square feet and pumps are proposed. Per section 305.12, the building shall be at least 50 feet from an R district. The existing structure is at 23 feet from the R district.
I'm sorry, I'm being kicked off and on for some reason here. I'm not sure why, but all persons in favor or opposed to this current proposal, would you please state your name and address for the purpose of our record and be sworn in?
My name is John Barbale. My address is 2202 Warfel Avenue, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16503.
Spell your name, please, sir.
Barbale.
Thank you.
And my name is Curtis Lofton, and I reside at 813 West 4th Street, Erie, PA 16507.
Anyone else to testify?
Yeah, Kulwant Lakman, 1324 South Shore Place, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16505.
Proceed.
Michael Grab is also supposed to be listening in. I'm not sure if he's on there or not. He's the architect.
If Michael Grab is present, would you please have yourself sworn in and state your name? Who shall proceed to present this proposal?
Okay, I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Lockman. And we're looking at getting a variance on changing the zoning from a restaurant.
Could you
back
hold,
to a gas
could you hold up
station.
for a second? Could
Yes.
you identify who you are? Because it seems that three of you are coming under the same name.
Okay, I'm John Barbale.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Lockman, and we're looking at getting a variance for the property, changing it back from a restaurant zoning back to a gas station, convenience store zoning. It had been changed about 20 years ago from a country fair to our known restaurants. He has opened 4 other locations here in Erie, all in excess of $1 million on each one. It would bring a great deal of business probably to that neighborhood. The building is in very bad shape. It needs a lot of work. It would make a great look to that neighborhood. The current architect we're dealing with is Mike Grab, and we're also talking to Laird Company on laying out of the property, the parking, sewers, drains, everything to make sure we'd be in compliance. And that's all I have.
Anyone else in favor?
Yeah, so my name is Curtis Lofton. I also am in favor of this operation. just from the standpoint of revitalizing the neighborhood. I noticed the work that Mr. Lucky has done on his other properties and has brought a lot of life and a lot of economy back into the community. Also know that by rebuilding this location there, it will fill the void that was left when the country fair was there. I think it will speak to the needs of people in that neighborhood. I think it will help clean the neighborhood up. It will light the neighborhood up and, you know, become a very vibrant neighborhood again. So I'm in favor and support of this location, and most specifically the way he operates his businesses.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor? Anyone else in favor of the proposal? Hearing none. Is anyone opposed to this proposal? Is there anyone else opposed to the proposal? Hearing none. Board members?
Jeff Johnson here. John Barbell mentioned that it would be a $1 million investment. I think it's a lot more than that by the time you put tanks and put up a new building. Ask him if I'm right or wrong.
Probably correct, sir. But I've said he's spent anywhere from 1.4 to 1.6 million on the other ones. I'm just saying it's excess of $1 million on every one.
Oh, I know that. Okay, thank you.
What, just curious, if for whatever reason, the gas station part of this proposal was denied, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe there's too many gas stations within a mile area, does he still intend to move forward with the convenience store?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? Jake, for clarification purposes, this was a gas station before and the tanks were removed. Is there a length of time where before it can be reused again as such?
I don't believe there's any restrictions as far as environmentally from the previous use.
I think federal funds or state funds were used to remove the tanks. Is there any limitation on those? That's what I'm asking about.
If that's the case, I wouldn't be aware of it.
Okay.
That's a very good observation or question, Ed. I was thinking the same thing. And both because of what you said about the previous effort to remove abandoned tanks, but also that there would be multiple environmental layers. And what I mean by that is there would be the state Department of Environmental Protection, there would be the federal EPA, there may even be some local, zoning laws, that there would be a lot of layers that they would have to make sure before opening up a gas station like that in an inner city neighborhood. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Listen, let me say something. First of all, Don, and this guy's going to spend, I know him, Lucky Singh, he owns all the speed marts on the east side of town. He spends $2 to $3 million putting these things up. He buys his gas in Ohio. He sells it 15 cents cheaper a gallon. It will help and improve that neighborhood. And they have all kinds of regulations, he does, when he goes to build one of these things. So we don't have, the zoning board doesn't have a worry about what was contaminated, who paid for it, or who's cleaning it up. That's his headache. not ours.
All right, sir. Again, this is Curtis Lawton. And just for the record, Mr. Lucky is prepared to absorb any costs associated with anything regarding the gas thing. So that's not an issue.
Okay, before I could hear that in the testimony, I think that's up to the owner, please. So
Yes.
restrict that to the
Anything,
owner.
anything contaminate the ground, it's my responsibility to clean those.
Thank you.
Question?
Okay. Anyone else for, in favor? Oh, God. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Any other board members? Questions or concerns?
Yes. You're going to demolish the current structure there?
No, sir. The building is, we can renovate those.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we going to renovate these buildings.
We're gonna renovate it.
Okay, all right. So you're not going to be able to, as far as move the lot line, the building line that doesn't comply? You're just going to keep the structure that's there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jake, I have a question as far as the zoning part of it. Will this have to be screened along the curb line with bushes or anything? You know, like Taco Bell at 12th and French? Is there a planting area or anything around it that's required?
There are screening requirements for commercial activities that are adjacent to residential district.
Okay.
So there may be some screening requirements on the south side of the property.
Right, right.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have. It's a welcome addition to the neighborhood, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Any other persons on the board? Any other persons on the board to speak? Jake, I'd call for the vote.
Okay, we have called for the vote on Appeal 12-225. Mr. Dawson?
I'm in favor. I think it'd be a welcome addition to the neighborhood. Quite familiar, just has already indicated that he has done a great job of taking care of and placing strategically in our neighborhoods, places of business that have helped the neighborhood. So I'm in favor.
Mr. Horniak?
We've dealt with Mr. Lucky before, and he's put these stations and his convenience stores in places that a lot of people didn't think would be a good idea. And now they've actually shown that it is a very good idea. He has a very good game plan. He keeps a super business, and therefore I agree. I say yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Reidinger?
I agree with Mr. Horniak. Great location, and it's a good use of the property. It's been an eyesore for many years now.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes, approve.
Thank you. We have a 5-0 vote to approve. The appeal is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much for hearing us, and thank you.
Good job. Okay.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Jake, I call for the last proposal.
Okay, the last appeal we have on today's docket is appeal number 12-226 by Chester Vendetti. There are several index numbers concerning 7 parcels located at the northeast corner of McClellan Avenue and the Bayfront Connector. The appellant is seeking use variances to create a planned residential development on these parcels. Per section 204.16 of the ordinance, planned residential developments are not a permitted use in the C2 zoning district. And per section 204.17, planned residential developments are not permitted use in C3 zoning districts. There happens to be a split in the zoning between C2 and C3 in the properties that are involved.
Jake, did you mean that some of these lots are in the C3 and some are in the C2?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, all present. I'd like to swear in all persons who are in favor or opposed to this proposal. Please state your name and give your address.
Chester Vendetti, 4688 Glencrest Drive, Erie, PA 16509.
Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else? Mr. Vendetti, would you proceed?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. My name is my name is Chester Vendetti. I'm getting an echo. That's why I hesitated. But anyhow, my name is Chester Vendetti. I, along with my brother Richard Vendetti, are the managing partners of Vendetti Brothers Associates, which owns approximately 39.7 acres on the northeast quadrant of the Bayfront Connector and McClelland Avenue. With the advent of LERTA, we started to explore the possibility of putting some homes up on that property. And we think that the planned residential development is the best way to proceed if we wanted to make this into a viable subdivision. And if I may just read the purpose of the PRD right out of the ordinance, and it's because it'll be much more succinct and better explain what we're trying to do. The purpose of the PRD regulations is to encourage the flexibility in the design and development of land in order to promote its most appropriate use, to encourage grouping of housing types in alternate patterns and in a variety of ways, to facilitate the adequate and economical provision of streets and utilities, and to preserve the natural and scenic qualities of open areas. There's a lot there. It says a lot there in a very short sentence, but that's what we would like to do. And so therefore, we're just asking that we can use the property for a PRD at this point in time. I have no plans or specifications or anything because under the PRD, we have, I think it's a year to come up with a tentative proposal, present it to you folks, and then proceed with a final proposal, it's at some point in time. But unless we know what whether we can do it or not, we just didn't want to advance any plans or anything like that. And that's about it, really.
Mr. Vendetti, before you answer any questions from the board, can I have the reference that you read from so I can have a report?
Oh boy, it's 803, I think is, Jake, I don't know, 803 is the regulation. 803, well, here, hold on a minute. Let me try and get this.
Well, that's, I mean, you were reading from a local.
No, I was reading from the ordinance, from the actual regulation.
Okay, that's.
it's the purpose, it starts out, the purpose of the PRD regulation is to encourage, and it's, I think it's 803, Jake, 803. You want me to get it? You want me to try and get it for you?
No, I don't need the exact, I just want to know what you were quoting from. What,
Yeah, I was quoting from the ordinance itself, the actual ordinance itself.
okay, thank you.
I mean, I can get the site, I have to get out of here. I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me?
No, we just have your name on the board.
Oh, well then huh? Excuse me?
No, we just have your name. We just hear your voice.
Oh, okay. Well, I can get that for you. I can get up here.
Chester, don't worry about it. You got it from an ordinance, right?
Yeah, I got it right from the ordinance.
Thank you.
Anyone in
Yeah.
favor? Anyone else in favor who would like to testify?
Board, I have three members with their hands raised. Freda Tepfer, Jennifer Wyek, and Councilwoman Schaaf. I'm going to bring them in at this point.
We also, Jake, this might be a good time to check the letter that you received. Was it from one of the three people who are waiting to testify, or was that from another person?
Hold on, I will double check that.
Jennifer, would you state your name and address to be sworn in?
Sorry, having an issue here. My name is Jennifer Wysick. I live at 3620 Bird Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16510.
Thank you. Kathy, would you state your name to be sworn in?
I'm speaking as Kathy Schaaf, a citizen of Erie, Pennsylvania, who grew up in that neighborhood and only lives 10 blocks away. 2437 East 43rd Street, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I'm there. I'm on there. This is Freda Tepfer, 1738 West 23rd Street, Erie, Pennsylvania. I have questions about the project.
I just need you to be sworn in first.
Right.
We will
I'm
come
just
to that.
stating that I have questions. It's difficult to say whether I'm for or I'm against, but since I don't have an option, I'll have to say I'm against.
Okay, no problem. Jake, would you please swear them in?
Thank you all. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I
help you God.
affirm.
I do.
I do.
I affirm.
Thank you.
I do.
All persons in favor of this project, please present yourself. State your name. All persons in favor of this project, please state your name. All
If you
persons.
would like to speak, please raise your hand in the chat box so we can recognize you. We have
Oh,
Kathleen.
wait, yeah, I'm sorry, this is Chester Vendetti. My mic was muted. Do you want me to speak again, or you need other people?
I believe we've heard from you.
Oh, okay, okay. Thanks.
Is there anyone else to speak regarding this proposal? Is there anyone to speak regarding this proposal?
This is Jennifer Wysick. I don't want to speak for it. I would like
Okay.
to just say that, I mean, my husband and I purchased our home back in 2018. And one thing that we really love about it is that, you know, we're in the city, but there's all these woods behind us. So we aren't really for homes going up behind us. So we're more against it. And I can't speak for all of my neighbors, but I know that we had signs put on our front door that I know that some of them were also against it. But again, I can't speak for them. I just know that a lot of us love that we have the woods because we can sit on our back patio and you really don't feel like you're in the city, but yet you are, and you're so close to things. But so I would say that I would be against it.
Is there anyone else to speak regarding this proposal?
I would like to speak.
Please state your name.
This is Freda Tepfer. I understand that this is zoned currently C3 and C4. So the project, some kind of project could occur in this currently wooded area that seems to be the headwaters of a stream. I believe it's the stream that goes into McClellan Park. So there's a use variance as opposed to a rezone being requested here to have a PRD rather than a C3 or C4. There could be an increase of between 10 and 20 something % of the densities of the project, depending on what kinds of approvals the proponent later sought. But there is no plans, there's nothing available to determine how this proposed project will impact traffic in the vicinity, how traffic would enter and leave the project, how it might impact the residential neighborhood traffic-wise, what are the changes to the stream and the wildlife currently in the area. None of this stuff has been presented, just the variance from the zoning requirement. So I think there's not very adequate information to assess whether this is a suitable project versus what would occur under the current C3 and C4 on these properties. So I'm opposed.
Mr. Vendetti, do you have any information that would assist? Mr. Vendetti, your mic is on silent.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we didn't want to spend a lot of resources if we weren't, if we couldn't avail ourselves of the PRD. As far as, I mean, my understanding is that residential property residential use is a much higher and better use than commercial. And I think that's true. So that's what we would be going to. As far as the traffic is concerned, I mean, we do have the Bayfront Highway that we have access off of, and about 6 streets or something that the city comes into. As far as the stream's concerned, we've had environmental studies done on it, and there is no stream. There was actually there was no headwater there. In 1952, the city had put up a large stormwater tube from the neighboring subdivisions to the south of us, and this water was just coming into our property. It was storm sewer water, and as a matter of fact, when we went to rezone this in I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I went out and talked to the residents, and I was talking, and all of a sudden this guy stood up and says, "What are you gonna do about the water?" And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then he showed me, and there were about 4 houses that were all boarded up with the plywood, and his house actually had been moved off the foundation. And he said to me, the next time I go to City Hall, I'm going to take a shotgun with me. So I called up City Hall. I can't remember who I talked to, and I said, you guys are putting a hell of a lot of. They said we don't know what to do with it. We don't know what to do. And I said, well, you just can't keep on letting it flow here. But anyhow, PennDOT came in when they put the Bayfront Highway in, and they said, we'll take care of it. So they put that big retention pond over there, and that's where the water is diverted from the storm sewers that are to the south of our property. But it wasn't a headwater or anything like that I'm aware of, at least. And DEP never said anything about that to us. There are approximately, I can't remember, 2 or 3 acres of wetlands caused by that to the north, right in about the middle of the property that we're aware of. But that's about all I have to say about that at this point in time. But we really have to know whether we can do this before we can go. And a PRD it gives us much more flexibility than the regular zoning R1s, R2, R3, where we would just be allowed to put up a regular subdivision that you would, they were designed in the 50s and 60s, and they don't take into account the trends, the housing trends that are affecting, that are taking place throughout the rest of the country, and will eventually hit here. And we're trying to do that here right now in the city, because she's right. It's a beautiful area, and it's not far from downtown, and we think that there would be a nice place for everybody to live, and for the city to have some more residents come in. Anyhow, that's where we are.
Anyone else?
Since he replied to my comment, I would like to just say that as a
Okay,
soil
please
scientist,
identify yourself.
this is Freda Tepfer again. I've already given my address and I've been sworn in.
Yes.
As a soil scientist, I can say that wetlands don't just happen because water is discharged. They happen because of the topography and the nature of the soil's material in the area. This is probably an area that's predisposed to be a wetland. It doesn't just magically become one. But my concern is just that there's not enough information for you folks to go on to know what is there topographically. And looking at the air photo with the experience I have, it certainly looks like, if at the least it's an ephemeral or intermittent drainage, but that there ought to be some more information to know how the traffic is going to be. We have enough going on with the Bayfront now. How is the traffic actually going to enter and leave the area? Is it going to enter and leave the Bayfront? Is there a way for it to do that? Or is it going to have to wind through the streets in order to do that?
Freda, I have a question for you. What is your experience in development?
Well, who's speaking to me?
I'm Jeff Johnson. I'm a board member.
I was trained as a soil scientist. I worked for the U.S. Forest Service, and then I worked for Snohomish County, Washington, for one year writing environmental documents for residential development, and 1 year doing water resources, and then 7 years working with hazardous waste and water quality.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would like to speak. My name is Kathy Schaff. I grew up at 2720 East 38th Street, which is only a house away from Bird Drive. And so my neighbors and friends are all along Bird Drive. And I know that area very well as Roselle Park. Farmer L owned that property. He was friendly with my father, and my father would go and visit Farmer L. And I know that Farmer L had wanted it to be like residential farmland at one time. Right now, that area is actually an unknown to many people. It's a wildlife preserve, no lie. People who live on McClelland Avenue, people who live on Bird Drive, and people who live on 38th Street will tell you all the deer that are in that area. We have to be very careful driving certain times of the year, and not just one deer will come out. There'll be like 5 deer. That whole area has at least 20 turkeys living in it. I have a video of the turkeys and flying squirrels. I'm only 10 blocks away from that area, and I grew up playing in creek beds along the Bird Drive properties. We used to play in the creek beds quite a lot, actually, and they're now not visible, but if you take a walk at the McClelland Park to the north of that property, you will, as you're walking, you will see the creek beds. So they're probably all under tunnels. Because I love to walk so much and walk frequently as well as drive through that area, I was walking today. And because it's a lovely day, there were people mowing their lawns. And I actually ended up chatting with at least 5 people who were all against the project. But not everyone I talked to was against, but the 5 people that I were talking to afterwards, or before this other property. Well, anyways, they have property that are adjacent. They were not able to go onto Zoom today, they said, because not all of them have the computer access or the computer technology to voice their concerns. So that's one thing right away. And one of the people actually that I was talking to said he knew about the plans and, that there was this planned.
Kathy?
Yes.
This is Ed Dawson.
Yes.
Unless the persons are actually here, I guess we only need to hear about your concern at this time.
Okay.
Can't have
Okay.
other people. Thank
All
you.
right. So my concerns are my dad, who used to live on 38th Street, he's now in Green Township. And they are doing where he has to be hooked up to sewer, and he has to pay quite a lot of money. Now, as a taxpayer citizens, who's going to be paying for the sewer and the gas hookups in this community? Will the residents along Bird Drive have to pay for that? We as a city, will the city have to pay for the expense of the sewer and hookups? I'm concerned about the traffic because I travel every day using Bird Drive, 38th, and McClelland Avenue. And these days, I don't know if it's COVID, but it's definitely, actually it happened before COVID. People are starting to not do the speed limit. I find that on the Bayfront Highway as well. Bird Drive is typically very quiet, and I'm just concerned, like I said, with those deer coming out, and there's going to be more traffic on the road. Will I be affected by all of that in coming home from my work? I work on Buffalo Road. So, I usually try to take Bird Drive because McClelland is more busier at times, and with the Bayfront light there, there is like sometimes where it gets stopped up pretty far back. So I've known to not take McClellan so much going home. If I want to go home, I tend to take Bird Drive, but Bird Drive is very residential. So I'm wondering about the noise, because even though I'm up on 43rd Street, I do get noise from the Bayfront Highway. And will the noise issues get worse? And I'm also, as a tax-paying citizen, wondering if my taxes will go up if we have to hire more police, because that is at the ends of the city line area type of thing, and that's going into. My daughter, this is personal, my daughter lived in a planned community in Florida, and the strange thing about it was there was only one entranceway and one exit way into her community. And when I was visiting her, there was a problem and they could not leave their community. And for like an emergency, there was an accident. And so I'm wondering about the accessibility, the ins and outs of things, the extra amount of traffic and fire, police, as a tax-paying citizen. That is, again, this is a wildlife preserve with flying squirrels in it. So I don't think that people realize that. And like I said, I've only not lived in this area 4 years of my life. 4 years of my life I lived on 5th and Ash. So nature is a huge part of de-stressing for me. I used to play in that area as a kid. I still, like I said, walk, I walk the McClellan parks, I'm walking. But anyways, personally, I think there'd be a lot more people complaining about it if this meeting weren't so long. Here it is 3:17 and the meeting started at 1. And people may have logged off. I don't know. I don't have that ability. People may be at work. But anyways, I'm just a tax-paying citizen who am very concerned. And we need to be transparent, because why am I hearing about plans when, no plan really has been addressed? Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak? Anyone else to speak?
Excuse me, Ed, this might be a good time to check with Jake. We did receive an email, we being the zoning office, received an email for the board's hearing today. Jake, did you check? Was it one of the 3 witnesses that just testified that sent that email? You're on mute, Jake.
Sorry. I see that the individual that submitted the email is also signed in and does have his hand raised. It does appear we have a couple of other people that also have their hand raised. I didn't know we had more. Okay, I'm sorry. It looks like Cheryl Lepkowski, Sean Ferry, and Kirk Lavins all have their hands raised. I assume they intend to speak.
Who sent the email? Well,
I can't see them, and nor could I acknowledge them. So if there's someone else.
Sean Ferry is here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Could we have Sean Ferry give us full name and his address and have him sworn in?
Yes, this is Sean Ferry. Address is 3506 Bird Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania 16510.
Thank you. Proceed.
We also have Kirk Lavins and Cheryl Lepkowski.
Kirk Lavins here. Also, Sue Wenchel is with me. Also would like to speak.
Kirk, we need
And
your
then Cheryl,
full name and address.
Cheryl's, sorry.
Kirk Lavins, 3420 Bird Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16510.
Thank you.
This is Suzanne Winchell. My address is 3404 Bird Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16510. I am currently at Kirk's house because I could not hook up to this meeting. I had no microphone on my computer because this is not really an easy thing to do.
Can you spell your last name, please, Cheryl? I'm sorry, Suzanne. Could you spell your last name?
Spell your last name.
Winschel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
And
please?
then Cheryl Lipkowski, your microphone is muted.
And there's one more person I
And
think
we
we
also-
sworn in, Bernie.
We also have Bernie, whose hand is raised, but his microphone is muted.
Bernie and Cheryl, your microphones are muted. Would you please click the button, the red button with your microphone to unmute yourself?
Hello?
Thank you. Give your name and address.
It's Bernie Barosak, 2716 East 36th Street, 165-110.
Thank you. Anyone else? There was a Cheryl.
We have Jude.
Yeah, there was a Cheryl.
All right. Please identify yourself before you speak because we cannot see you.
My name is Kirk Lavins.
Thank you.
I live adjacent to the property that's seeking appeal today. Let it be known that I oppose any appeal decision being made by the zoning board regarding the Vendetti variance appeal scheduled for today. I formally request that the variance appeal today be tabled and addressed at a future zoning board hearing. I present the following to support this request. The first public notification of this variance appeal occurred on Monday, June 6, 2020. Sorry, July 6, 2020. 3 small notice of public hearing signs appeared on Bird Drive on that date. I object to the only 1 week public notice being given announcing the Vendetti variance appeal. Also, there has been no notification from the developer of a variance appeal. It was not sent or delivered to the adjacent homeowners. It's my opinion that not enough time has been allowed for full public input to be submitted to the zoning board to consider any Vendetti appeal decision today. Consideration and accommodation must be made for those affected homeowners and involved public who do not have internet access to participate in a scheduled Zoom meeting. Consideration and accommodation must be made for those affected homeowners and involved public who do not possess the skills required to participate in today's Zoom meeting. Nearly 50 adjacent homeowners will be directly affected by today's zoning board's appeal decision. Please, more time must be allowed for public comment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please state your name.
Suzanne Winchell. My address is 3404 Bird Drive, Erie, PA 16510. What I'm about to state here was formally sent by email to the admin@erie.pa.us email address. And I just wanted to be sure that my email got to you appropriately so that you have a copy of what I'm about to say in black and white. Again, my name is Sue Winchell, and my husband and I have been residents on Bird Drive for over 39 years. During this time, there have been 2 previous requests by Mr. Vendetti to rezone the 40 acres of land that he currently owns, which directly abuts to approximately 25 backyard properties located on Bird Drive, East 33rd Street, Rice Avenue, and McClellan Avenue, according to the 2019 zoning map posted on the City of Erie website. 24 out of 25 of these properties are zoned R1 low density residential with property home values from $100,000 to $166,000 according to Zillow.com. Mr. Vendetti stated to my husband on July 9th by phone that he would like to build a residential subdivision with smaller homes, 1,000 square feet or less. Can we be legally assured that these homes would not be low-income housing, as it appears this is certainly a possibility? To do so would greatly lower the property values in this neighborhood that many have spent years, money, and efforts to improve and maintain. As previously stated, this is the 3rd request by Mr. Vendetti regarding the zoning of this property since 1999. The current zoning, as per his request in 2013, is C2 and C3. If he wants to build, quote, pocket neighborhoods, I am perplexed as to why he's requesting a variance of restrictions in lieu of requesting to rezone the property to R1 low density residential. I'm wondering, are there any non-disclosed reasons that pertain to this request for a, quote, variance of restrictions? The property Mr. Vendetti owns would currently have limited access and any plans to open East 35th, East 36th, and East 37th and Bird Drive, which by the way have been closed for 21 years, over 21 years, would have an overwhelming effect on the entire neighborhood due to the increase in traffic and loss of privacy. The environmental impact would be devastating as Mr. Vendetti's property contains a great deal of wildlife, wetlands, and green space that is vanishing in this city and around the world. Many of the trees in this area have already been destroyed by the emerald ash borer over the past several years, and to lose more trees would be disheartening, not to mention the loss of wildlife. My question in my statement here is, has there ever been an official environmental study done on these parcels of land? I believe Mr. Vendetti stated previously that there was. I would like a copy of that, or like to know where I could get a copy of that environmental study. I would like to make a formal proposal that this zoning hearing be tabled until the current COVID-19 pandemic is over for the following 2 reasons. Number 1, the affected residents were not properly notified. There were only 3 small signs posted on Monday, July 6th at East 35th and Bird Drive, East 36th and Bird Drive, at East 37th and Bird Drive, notifying the, quote, public of this hearing. The signs on East 36th and East 37th were not visible from Bird Drive, as they're very small, and they were strategically placed at the end of the dead-end streets, which are approximately 700 feet long. This was the only physical form of notification posted for the entire radius of abutting property owners. As of Saturday, July 11th, 2 out of the 3 signs were washed off of their posts from the rain, and the 3rd was half off the post folded forward. According to the zoning ordinance for the City of Erie, Article 5, 507 hearings number 1, quote, written notice of said hearing shall be conspicuously posted on the affected tract of land at least 1 week prior to the hearing. It does not appear to me that Mr. Vendetti is in compliance of this article. Number 2, we are in the middle of a serious health pandemic, and many of our elderly disabled neighbors do not own a computer or a smartphone and are not computer smartphone literate. Restricting participation at this meeting via a Zoom webinar due to the current closure of City Hall is grossly unfair to those who have a right to voice their concerns in person. I'm wondering, could this be the reason for the timing of Mr. Vendetti's request? I would respectfully ask Mr. Vendetti to consider breaking the abutting parcels of land into smaller parcels, say 1 to 2 acres deep lots, and offer them for sale to the surrounding property owners at a fair price. This would allow the current property owners to extend their properties, maintain privacy, green space, and wildlife, and preserve the integrity of this area. The remaining area could be written off as a business loss. It could be donated or developed in a more sensitive and less impacting way. I do have one more thought that is not on my email. The taxes in this area is very high. Our taxes personally are almost $4,000 a year. Once LRTA expires, are these people going to be able to pay the taxes of Southeast Erie? And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, I'd ask that anybody else who would like to present themselves, say your name as you present, and try not to go over something that's already been addressed.
Sean Ferry.
Thank you.
Yes, rather than read the email that you probably have already in front of you, I do also just want to oppose this project and mention that the trees and the forestry on the parcel we're discussing block the railroad sounds and the bayfront noise from this bird drive environment, which is currently very peaceful for well over 60 families. Also in the neighborhood, it involves a community home, a group home, which houses autistic children. I'm sure they don't need the extra noise that would be presented by turning this into a residential area. Also, I did want to reiterate that Mr. Vendetti discussed that all the environmental people he talked to gave him a good go-ahead. Well, that's all just hearsay that anyone could say. There's no proof of that. Every story I've ever heard is it's a wetlands and there's streams back there. Environmental agencies would not clear that. I oppose this project greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak regarding this proposal? Anyone else to speak regarding this proposal? Please come forward. Hearing none. Jake, can we address
We do
first?
have one person.
Okay.
We do have one person that just raised their hand, Judy Turner.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here.
Could
You need
you?
my address?
Yes. Could you state your name and address and have you sworn in?
Judith Turner, 2641 East 33rd Street, Erie, PA 16510.
Jake, please swear her in.
Judy, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Is it my turn to speak?
Yes, Judy.
Oh, okay. I don't want to oppose the variance also because of not enough information as to what Mr. Vendetti plans to do with the property. It started out in 1998 with changing the zoning from R1, C1, and M1 to C3. And then it went, he did nothing until May of 2013, and he again requested a zoning change from C3 to C2. Both changes were approved, and now he's requesting a variance. I'm confused as to why it can't be decided what to do with this property. There are extensive wetlands in there. A study was done when the Bayfront Highway was put in, and there are extensive wetlands in there, not just a couple acres. And there's wildlife and green space. What, if anything, has been done by Mr. Vendetti regarding the wetlands and what does he plan to do with the wetlands? This will affect our lives and property value greatly, and we know nothing about the plans. What kind of housing does he want to put in there? What's the price range of the housing? there's so many questions to be answered, and to go ahead and approve another request, I think shouldn't be done until questions are answered. We're concerned about the integrity of our neighborhood. This is a quiet, well-kept neighborhood, low traffic, very peaceful. And our Mr. Vendetti's property is surrounded on the north and east by lovely single-family homes. And I'm just concerned about what the plans are, and we have no answers.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Is there anyone else? Hearing none. Board members. Board members, do we have any other board member to speak? I hear John. I see a hand.
You're muted, John.
Got it. Okay. I have a question for Mr. Vendetti. It's John Reitinger. You there?
Yes, I am, John.
Okay. I'm just looking at the map there, and I know that these are just tentative plans. Do you have any idea as far as access off Bird Drive where that will be, if any?
Well, if it was off Bird Drive, there's 3 street stubs that go right into our property.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's where they probably would be. I mean, that's where I think they would be, at least. You know.
Yeah, 36, 7.
John, may I explain something to the people who just spoke? Is that if we are approved today, we're only approved to develop plans for a PRD. You're not approving a subdivision. You're approving us to go forward with plans. So we would then have plans to address and see what we're going to do to address all these issues. There would be another hearings that are involved if you read the ordinance. You know what I mean? So this is not an approval for us to just go in there and start building something. There's a whole bunch of things that we have to do before you guys approve it. Yeah.
Right.
I just want to make that as clear as I can. I don't know. Maybe Jake could explain it a little better than I can. Maybe more familiar with that part of the act. I just want to make it clear that you're not giving us a blank check to go in there and just start doing whatever we want to do. Okay, I'm sorry, John.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That was going to be my question to Jake as well. I mean, this is just a tentative approval of the PRD, and it would still have to go before the Planning Commission and be approved and submitted.
Right. Yeah, our plans would have to be approved.
Right.
If we were allowed to. This allows us to develop a plan. That's what it allows us to do.
I understand. No, that was 308 in the
Yeah, did I say 308? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 308. But that's all I have. This is just a tentative approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jake, there's several issues regarding the postings. Could you inform us of your posting procedure?
The advertising and the posting was done according to the legal requirements. I don't know that I have anything more to add than that as far as the timing and the location of the postings. It is difficult to post a property like that because you do have to put the posting on the property. And the only access points to that property are, in the case of the east side of the properties, would be at the end of those dead end stubs. So it is unfortunate sometimes the locations were essentially forced to put the physical postings on.
To Dawn, have we ever considered conditions like persons who aren't able to to present themselves regarding the hearings? And could you speak to that legal?
Well, I think we're kind of, I was going to say an apples and oranges kind of thing here. Conditions would be something that the appellant or the person receiving the variance it would be restrictions placed on the variance. I think what you're asking is the public access and what, if any, responsibility the board has to ensure the neighbors, and as was suggested, many other people who weren't able to participate today, what, if any, responsibility the board has. This is a pretty unique situation. I'm not aware of any. We've always, the zoning office is responsible for the posting / notification. We've never had an issue or a problem. And where there was one, we've always tried to accommodate it. Obviously, I think one of the people, one of the witnesses themselves indicated that this is such a difficult situation to try to navigate as normal as possible a hearing in these very difficult times when the laws and the status of everything is changing, it seems.
I'd like to call for a vote.
Yeah, I don't know if I came close to answering your question, but I think everything was satisfied for this hearing, that the zoning office did everything they could under the circumstances to, and I'm comfortable that that the board did everything it could to present a fair and
All right.
hearing where everybody was heard.
I thank you. Jake, I'd ask for you to call for the vote. I'd ask the chairman to remain final.
Okay, thank you. We have a call for the vote on appeal number 12226. Mr. Dawson,
I'd ask the chairman to remain in final vote.
Mr. Horniak,
Well, I'm probably not going to be the friendliest person to a lot of people after what I get to say. First, on the public notification, I think we've done a great job, and without a budget, it's pretty difficult. We used to send notices to people, but the city, in their own great wisdom, has not given us any money to do that, so that has been suspended. The second thing is, a lot of people have talked about change of zoning. We can't change the zoning here. You're going to have to go to higher ups. All we can do is give a variance. The third thing is, I've lived in the city my whole life. Noise, traffic, things like that are part of city living. I don't think this is a bad idea to move people into the city. I think it's a good idea to move people into the city. First off, this is only a preliminary hearing. We're just giving these people the right to proceed on their idea. It's obvious that they've had an idea a couple of times before that didn't work out. We're not sure that this one is going to work out. And it's kind of funny that people say they weren't notified when on dead-end streets they did find the signs. So I'm going to vote to approve this.
Ms. King,
I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Reitinger,
I vote yes. This is what LERTA is all about. You know, we want to develop properties that are previously undeveloped. My vote is yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes, approve.
and Mr. Dawson.
Reluctantly, I'm going to vote to approve. I believe that there's several steps that he has to go through in order to comply with the neighbor's wishes. And this is just the ability to clear. But it appears, Mr. Vendetti, that you got a lot of work to do with your neighbors in order to gain their approval of any other changes to their restricted area. I vote to approve.
We have 4 votes in favor and 1 against. The appeal is approved.
With the conclusion of the final appeal, I'd like to call the meeting adjourned for the purpose of today's hearing of appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks,
Sorry that
everyone.
it was so long. And for some reason, I keep getting cut in and out of here with the video, but thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Ed.